We have within our body temple wonderful organs that provide the means whereby we can, if we choose, maintain a certain level of youthfulness. The lungs themselves are these giant sponges that expand and contract and allow particles of impurities within the air that we breathe to be attached within them and cleansed and purified by the blood flowing from the heart to the lungs, which also refreshes that blood, oxygenates it, and then it is returned to the heart to be pumped out to the body. When we consider the pranic breathing that we engage in and the breathing process itself as essential to life, because when we stop breathing, there is no longer life, anima, within us. We're not animated by the Spirit. So the Spirit is breath itself. And our blessed lungs are sacred organs that allow this breathing to go on, whereby we can take in, have the refreshment of our blood on a continuous basis, and then breathe out the impurities from within us that are brought to that place in the lungs for release through our breathing. And this is truly a miraculous process. Now, transpiration is similar, what plants experience, and photosynthesis as the manufacturing through light of substance that allows plants to have their own life is part of this entire alchemical process of life that is truly miraculous. God designed this entire very scientific and beautiful matrix whereby we could experience the Spirit in our lives. If we did not have breathing, we couldn't really move. We couldn't experience free will. We couldn't have the energization of our brains to think, because our brains require oxygen. Breathing is essential to life. And the breath of the Holy Spirit is truly within the human domain about the most powerful energy that we can feel and experience as we attempt to unite ourselves with the divine, with the Spirit. We are truly united within ourselves with the Spirit every time we breathe. And there is the process of the in-breath, the out-breath, the receiving, the giving, the drinking in, the exhalation, that is a part of the alpha omega interactivity of life within our being. We take for granted our breathing because it is accomplished by the grace of God through our autonomic nervous system, which goes on even when we are unconscious as we sleep at night. We don't force ourselves to breathe. It's a natural process that occurs from the moment we really are conceived until the moment we expire. Our breath is taken back up into our spiritual essence, and then, even then, we breathe in a higher state of beingness. Now, our physical temple breathes, and we've learned from the masters that since we have these auric sheaths of the emotional, the mental, the etheric bodies, and our higher bodies, the Atmic body, the Buddha body, the Christic body, the causal body, that we are actually breathing in these higher bodies simultaneously while we're breathing here on earth. As we breathe in spiritual fire in our higher bodies, these are the divine quintessences of God, and they energize, activate, and nurture these higher bodies, just as the prana and the air that we breathe here in 3D also keep us animated, give us life. If we consider the higher breathing process of breathing fire and light and draw that into our present awareness so that we are, in a sense, participating with our higher self in living as spiritual beings while knowing the flesh here in form, we can more positively energize our four lower bodies to sustain a greater quotient of life and light within our temple. How do the saints maintain these incorruptible bodies? They have trued themselves so much to the divine world and to the Lord through their devotion, prayer, meditation, and oneness, that the very essence of their God presence is locked into their physical temple, and they breathe, feel, cognize truly as saints and as God men and women, having drawn down that spiritual and celestial light into their temple in order to animate it with a higher essence. We can do the same, and we can have body temples that are clearer, cleaner, more resilient, more reflective of the divine light. And when we do this, our countenance shines like Jesus, as it was said in the Transfiguration, when his entire being and even the clothes he was wearing were pure white energy light. So we choose by our consciousness, by what we take in through our breathing, our feeling, our thinking, our meditation, the essences of pure light, if we choose. And when we are always in the mode of attempting to glorify God by allowing our body temple to be crystal clear, free of encumbrances and toxins, both astral, physical, mental, and memory, then our temple becomes a habitation for the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit moves through the vessels of our awareness. The Holy Spirit truly breathes through us. And what we experience in our life is charged with that essence of the glory of God by the power of that Spirit. During our prayers and decrees, an aspect of this is occurring. It becomes more beautiful and sublime when we are conscious of what is occurring and not simply rattling off words by memory but we are engaged fully in this solar and spiritual activity to allow heaven to come on earth through us, physically, through our body temple. You may have noticed individuals with whom you've interacted that in their presence you feel light, you feel integration yourself. They are clear, they are clean, and you feel that purity, light around them in their auric field, and you are buoyed up in that light energy and presence. Now, if you feel this in the auric field of others, masters, spiritual beings who come into your life, then you can do likewise and attempt in every possible way to be an advocate for God so that every individual who comes into your life may also be blessed by the same energy of the Spirit, and through a harmonization of your being with the divine, with your Holy Christ Buddhist self, with your I am God presence, with that solar reality of your true self, you are spiritualizing this earth constantly, 24/7. And this process begins to flow and to manifest even almost automatically without your outer consciousness really being engaged or attempting to do it or to try to do it. It simply is manifesting because you are living in presence. And just as Jesus, because of his great light, coming into contact with that woman who touched his garment, the virtue, the light went out of him, and she was healed, and her issue of blood was staunched immediately. So the light flowing through us is intelligent, and that intelligence itself is what healed that woman. How does light immediately staunch a flow, an issue of blood? Well, that light has to have the intelligence that was partly there as a result of her faith and her desire to have that healing occur. And so the light, feeling her desire, knowing her intention, accepted the challenge from her and was drawn forth from Jesus' auric field and performed that seemingly miraculous event, and yet it wasn't miraculous at all. It was based on cosmic law because the light is intelligent. It is God's energy. So likewise for us, because the light itself, charged with electronic energy, is intelligent, it performs its perfect work in spite of our human foibles, in spite of that which at times clouds our being as our own ego nature. When we put God first and we decide that we are living for the light, in the light, as the light, in the very presence of the Holy Spirit, allowing God to use us as instruments for his will, wisdom, and love. We can accept the intelligence of the light of our higher auric field. We can know this living crystal light energy. We can feel the liquid nature of its movement through our auric field. And we can simply let or allow that energy to do its perfect work in every situation. We don't always have to be mentally involved in projecting light, in emitting light, and sending forth raying forth light. When we are in our integrity, we are that light, and the light itself does its perfect work on behalf of the Lord. Now, at times, we may be called to focus and to direct currents and rays in specific situations. And yet, when we walk in the light, as Jesus asked us to do, walk ye in the light, then the light itself, as God's beautiful corona of sacred energy and the frequencies of his beingness, are naturally flowing through us and performing their beautiful works. I believe that the true masters, the Buddhas, the saints, walking in that light, knowing themselves as humble servitors of the light and of the One, feeling their constant connection with the Source by upturning inwardly their hearts to the divine world and their eyes to the divine world, upturning every aspect of themselves to feel the refreshing currents that flow from the altar of the divine. They are locked into that essence of God, and thereby the Spirit manifests almost unconsciously and yet superconsciously through their being. So, what is superconsciousness? It is consciousness beyond the mental, the human domain that allows the supra-nature of our Buddhic essence to manifest everywhere we are, always. The Oversoul overshines us, suffuses us, impregnates our being continuously with God's light, and we are reborn moment after moment in this effulgent light energy. All of this because we breathe in the light of Spirit. We accept each new breath harmoniously. It simply happens. It's not a forced activity. It's natural. It's part of God's process. That's beautiful because it simply is. When we go through our day, after we have done our morning cleansing, devotion, our singing, our praising of God, our attempting to realign ourselves at a new and more noble and higher level of beingness, we can simply be present with that Holy Spirit and allow the intelligence of the Spirit to manifest through us to bless life. Our entire life becomes a blessing. Everywhere we move, the blessing currents of the Spirit descend into the earth, flow around the earth, ascend to the heavens. And we are ever charged and recharged in that divine current. We don't have to get our stimulation from all these outer things, movies, even books, other people's conversation, although all of these at appropriate times are fine. Our true inner stimulation comes from the Spirit, the breath of God, the flow of light, the impulses from within us that are of God. In our oneness with one another, as we blend the resources of our heart's fire, our auric fields, we have a greater opportunity to bless life on a wider scale, on a more grand and wonderful way. This interconnectivity, this community field of our higher union, one with another, energetically, within our core identities, allows our movement to grow, to expand, and to nurture life in greater domains, arenas of activity. Our common intelligence is growing and expanding, collectively because of the dynamic that the spirit is intelligent, picks up on what we are individually learning, carries that learning experience in the ethers, and deposits it within our individual auric fields so that we are raised up in that divine intelligence. This is how people throughout the world can pick up on inspiration and the genius of one who has discovered something, and simultaneously, anywhere and everywhere on the earth, that same intelligence of God can impress itself upon life, and many people have a quickening and awakening and an aha experience of a revelation. Every new revelation and divine experience that you have is at some level energetically transferred through higher mindfulness to every life stream with whom we are all connected on the earth. Think of that. Therefore, have more and more of these divine experiences of oneness with God, because in this process, you are raising the earth. That is why it's important for us to remember to do work internally on ourselves, because energetically, we are changing the world in this way. And again, I'll repeat it. If we simply try to change the world by force of thought or directing from something outside of us, it is not as powerful as our acceptance of our divinity, our knowing ourself, and energetically feeling our oneness with God, because that experience is captured by Akasha and is manifest and showered across the earth and beyond by this universal work of the Holy Spirit. Every divine act, every divine experience that you have is never lost. It is there hovering in the atmosphere, gathering more intelligent energy, even from your own I Am presence. And it is moving and streaming and blessing life far beyond your wildest human imagination. Therefore, keep on keeping on. Maintain your strong and yet gentle connection with your spirit, with your presence. And in this way, you truly are engaging God in the universe in the most co-creative and blessed work of transforming all in light.